So we know what we're doing. Make sure the microphone is all good. Everything's feeling good. Let's just get this microphone fixed up, shall we? There we go. Microphone's a little bit how you going right now, but we'll get there. There we go. All looking good. Everyone's watching. Fantastic. Welcome back to the Coaches to the Moon podcast, ladies and gentlemen, episode 69. Hold your applause. I'm here by myself today with a quick solo podcast, and I wanted to go through some really tangible advice for you. So if you're a coach, if you are running Facebook ads in any capacity at all, this one is for you, because generally what we're talking about today is what to do if your Facebook ads are not performing, not working the way you want to, not getting the results that you're expecting from this campaign. And this happens all the time. This happened to me and a client very recently, because you never truly know until you launch. You can have a lot of experience, you can have a lot of guesstimation and knowledge about what generally works, but until you launch, you never really have any idea. We see this all the time. We hear about huge marketing campaigns that companies have spent billions or hundreds of millions of dollars on that flop completely. I think CNN, the news channel in America, did it recently. They launched like a streaming platform and put hundreds of millions of dollars into advertising it, and then it got like 1,000 subscribers or something. Huge flops can happen, but we don't want to get emotional about it. We don't want to get emotional when we see the flops, when ads don't go as planned. And so how do we do that? Well, we just follow the process. So here are a few of my tips that I generally follow myself as a marketing agency owner for what to do if your ads are not working. The first one is this: don't get emotional. Now, that's easier said than done. And every tip I'm going to give you for the rest of this video is going to help you to not get emotional. However, if you can always keep that in your mind, if your ads are not performing properly, do not get emotional, then you'll make better decisions. This happens over and over again in life and in business. If we make decisions from a place of emotion, especially negative emotion, generally they're not the best decisions. So how can we flip that and start to think logically? Well, that's what I'm going to take you through in this podcast. But thinking logically about your numbers, about your ad, about the scheme of things, the long-term scheme of things, how much is this really going to affect your life? This stuff here is a great way to be able to go forward and make logical decisions, make the good decisions that are actually going to get your ad back on, keep your business running smoothly, rather than making a decision out of emotion, which is impulsive, and doing something that maybe isn't the best practice. So tip one is do not get emotional. So how do we do that? That's all well and good, Alex, but how do I not get emotional when I'm spending money and it's not coming back in? So let's talk about that. Let's talk first about the fact that when you first start marketing, yes, you are going to be putting out money, outlaying money into your ad spend, investing it, and it may not be coming back in as quickly as you want to. There is a formula I like to use called the profitable campaign formula. You can go and find that video on my Instagram, my YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere. The profitable campaign formula, where I draw it up in front of you. It's a bit difficult to understand on a podcast, but basically, if you know your numbers, you know your KPIs, your key performance indicators, you know your cost per lead that you want to get, you know the cost per acquisition you want to get, you know what your average order value is when someone buys something, how much cash you get in the bank on the day. When you know all these numbers, what happens is you can actually trust yourself that maybe even if you spend $1,000, $2,000 or pounds on ads in the first place before you get that first sale, hey, if you have a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 program and you get most of that in the bank on the day of the sale, guess what? You can still be in profit even after running ads at a loss for a month, because with a premium program, that money can come back so much faster. And that's one of the reasons why I love working with coaches, because you can feel really against the wire. And then you can make one great sale and then it all comes back and you get so much more momentum. But 2 or 3 sales in a week, it can change your whole cash flow and the whole feel of your business. Your confidence and your swagger comes back. Really, really exciting feeling. So that's the first thing, is just acknowledging that, if you know your numbers, if you know your profitable campaign formula, your KPIs, you figured out what it takes for you to make money off this campaign, and you follow those numbers and trust them, then basically you don't need to worry if your ads aren't performing on the first day or the first week, because generally, if you have a pretty decent rate of converting people and you can make sales off of quite a lot of the conversations you have, you'll be fine. Let the money go out, let the leads come in, keep working on them, nurturing them, moving them further along that pipeline, following them up, asking for feedback, giving them more value and more stuff. Then eventually you'll make that sale, you'll get the money back in abundance, and it'll be fine. So that's the first one. Know your numbers. Know the numbers of how much it costs to get a client, how much you make from a client, that sort of thing. That's one set of numbers you need to know. The next set of numbers is the ones inside the ad, okay? When your ad isn't performing the way you want to, or even when it is, it's really good to keep an eye on 3 or 4 numbers. Now, I did a video recently where the only number you need to focus on in your business is ROAS, return on ad spend, and that is correct. But that's when things are working really nicely. When you need to dig a little deeper and analyze things, there's a few numbers that you need to know that can really, really help you out if your ad's not working, to figure out where the block in the pipeline is. So here's what we'll talk about. The first one you need to remember is the result, the cost per result. The result of your ad campaign is like, do you want messaging conversations? Do you want leads who have filled in a form? Do you want people who have gone to a landing page and converted by putting their details in and then watch the video? Whichever one of those is, that cost per result is obviously the first number you want to look at. Because if it's way too high and it's completely out of whack with your profitable campaign formula that we've talked about, then instantly something's wrong. So what if, there's a few numbers that are wrong? We can dig a little deeper. So the first one I like to look at is the cost per click. Cost per click generally means how much does it cost for someone to click on this ad and look into it? Is it engaging? The lower that number is, the more engaging your ad is to that audience. And this generally works to do with the creative of your ad, the imagery, the video, the headline, the copywriting. Is this stuff engaging enough to get those clicks? If that cost per click is kind of in the single digits still, like $5 and below is ultimate, but if in the single digits, it's not too bad. It sounds crazy that it might cost $8 for someone to click on a link of yours, but that is still fine. You don't want to worry. I wouldn't worry unless that number got into the double digits, $10, $11 and above, because that means people just don't really like the ad so much. It's not very appealing to them. So that means, let's make the creative more engaging. The next one is to actually look at the frequency. Say you've got a small audience. Say you have a pretty niche kind of crowd where you're advertising locally, like you're just advertising in your kind of local few suburbs plus 20 kilometers. It might be quite a small audience. So look at the number called the frequency. The frequency is how often people see that ad. And we've all had it where you see an ad way too many times. If you watch MasterChef, far out, you see the same ad every 15 minutes on the ad break, or every 5 minutes, you see the same ad for Sportsbet or Ladbrokes or like some freaking show you don't want to watch, right? And so seeing those ads too many times makes you really not want to buy that product. So we need to watch our frequency. And there's a number in Facebook that tells you how much people are seeing your ad. If that ad is, going to a small audience and they have a decent budget on it, maybe within the first few days, people are seeing the ad 4, 5, 6 times and instantly thinking, oh, can this guy shut up? I don't want to see this ad anymore. You might get reports on it, and that's when things really can hit the fans, when people negatively report your ad or the Facebook algorithm pushes it further down. So watch the frequency of your ad. If it's not working properly, maybe people are seeing it too much or not enough. So if they're not seeing it enough, that means you can increase your budget. If they're seeing it too much, which for me is kind of like above 4 times, 5 times, then increase the audience size, decrease the budget, or I'd recommend multiplying the creatives, putting more pictures, more ads, more headlines, all feeding towards the same thing, all to the same audience. So for the same budget, people are seeing you a lot, but just different creatives. So they're not like seeing the same thing over and over again and getting sick of you. And then the third number is the CPM. This is kind of related to the last one, And this is how much it costs for Facebook to show your ad to 1,000 people. Now, if Facebook thinks your ad is like a really good quality ad, they're like, yeah, this is rock and roll, this is relevant to the audience, it might be a low cost for them to show it to 1,000 people. If it's like really expensive, then that means like, getting into like $60, $70, like $95 I've seen, then Facebook thinks this is not a very good ad. This is low quality or it's completely irrelevant to the audience. So we're not going to push it out there too much, because unfortunately there is the factor that you're spending money, but also the Facebook algorithm has to support it. So if the CPM is super high, look at that as well. And then rethink. If all these numbers are off, think about your creative and start again. If those numbers are fine, but your cost per lead is quite high, just try a new audience. Just duplicate the ad, try a new audience and see what happens. So that's the numbers. The second set of numbers you need to look at. That was quite a complicated one, but that one was one that I think is really, really tangible, and you need to know these things if you're advertising. The third thing is think about your offer. Your offer, is it tangible? Is it beneficial? Is it desirable? Is it relevant to the audience, right? The offer is sometimes the only thing that's wrong. And that's the biggest part of it, right? Maybe your creative is really shiny and beautiful and engaging, and like Facebook's like, yeah, this is a great ad, but the offer is just not what people want. Then your ad's not going to perform either way, no matter how good it looks. Okay. So come out with an offer, that's such a personalized thing for every audience that I can't really give much advice on it other than listen to your audience. Listen to the clients you've already had and think of the outcomes that they want. What benefits do they want from your program, from your service? They don't really mind about how you do it. They don't really mind about the method and, your qualifications and certifications and NLP and timeline therapy. That stuff's all great. People want the result. They don't want the journey. They want the destination. So that offer there, you've got to make sure it's really exciting, really congruent with what they want. And if that's off, then your ads will not work. So think about your offer. Sometimes you have to test it and like spend a bit of money to work out if people want this ad, if they want this offer or not. Sometimes you can just tell before you launch. So do as much work as possible, planning and testing before you put the ad out. When you put it out, it's always a bit of a gamble in there, but you put it out there. And if people seriously are not clicking, rethink your offer. The fourth thing I would say, if your ad's not performing, is this: be patient. And this comes back to what we said at the very beginning. Don't get emotional. Okay. Being patient is huge. Now, some people come to me, some clients, bless their hearts, who haven't advertised much before in a paid capacity, may come to me after a night of the ad running and be like, we didn't get any leads last night. This didn't go very well, did it? And it's like, it's only just turned on. It's got to get momentum. 90% of the energy used by like a car and like a steam train, I believe, like a good percentage is used in that getting off the ground phase. It's the same with ads. They need to learn and get it into their sweet spot. Facebook needs to figure out what kind of people are clicking on your ads, what people are engaging with it, and then send it to more people like them who will enjoy it. But we don't know that straight away. That stuff starts to gain momentum and sort itself out. The longer the ad's running, the more it's learned, the more scalable you can make it, the more budget you can put behind it, and the more predictable it can be. But when you first launch, it can take 2 or 3 days before you know anything. And I always recommend not touching an ad for the first 2 or 3 days of it running, at least 48 hours of it being approved, because you're just not giving it a chance to grow. That's like planting a seed in the ground and then after like 2 days being like, fuck this doesn't work. And then just flipping over your vegetable patch and being like, no, it didn't work for me. You got to give it some time in everything. You wouldn't, if you had a business and you opened a cafe and no customers walked in on the first day, you wouldn't burn the place down and be like, no, you keep trying, you keep, standing at the door and making your best coffees, and you would ride it out. People in online business are so impatient that they expect things to work on day one. Now, you can get a much, much faster return in online business, I believe, than brick and mortar, having owned both. But, you still got to hang out and like give it some time and test things and be willing to invest a couple $100 or, $1,000 in learning something. Because when you've learned it and it works far out, you have a predictable lead generation system or sales system, if you're lucky, that just works forever, for as long as it works, and that is something that can make you infinite return. So being patient in that initial testing phase is huge. It's really, really important. And that does come with time. It does come with experience and building that resilience and that capacity for risk and capacity for tension, where maybe something's not working as you want it to, but you just have to ride it out and know it's part of the game. The other side of that is what we were talking about before at the beginning, knowing your numbers. If you really, really trust yourself that when a client comes through, a lead comes through, you can service like a bunch of these leads and get a pretty good conversion rate. Like if 100 leads come in and you can sell a premium offer to 2 of them, that's pretty good. Like complete cold people have come out of nowhere, and then you wheedle them down with phone calls and with like messages and emails, and you get 6 of them on the phone and you sell 2 of them. That's pretty awesome. You can actually get really good results with those sort of conversion rates, and that's conservative. And when you trust yourself that you can, make the sales, make connections to these people, and then deliver them a good result so you get more testimonials, then yeah, you can be patient because you know that you've got this in the bag. A client of mine recently, I have a testimonial screenshot to go with it. You won't mind me saying this. He spent £1,000 on ads and was getting, in trouble a bit financially because of some other stuff that happened in his life at the same time. And then he made a £14,000 sale. So the ads were freaking him out because the ads were bringing in leads, but he wasn't able to kind of get on the phone and sell everyone because of a lot of different issues in his life. Eventually made that £14,000 sale, 14-1 return on ad spend in the bank on the day. So if you trust yourself like that guy did, he was a trusting, confident guy. He's like, I know I can make these sales. I can make a difference. Leave the ads on, even when he had like not much money left because of all these other problems. He was able to say, this is my ticket out of here, and trusted himself. Made that sale, cash flow changed, everything's different now. So being patient with yourself is so, so important. Business does not happen overnight, and online marketing is also the same. So many people come to me and say, online ads are just a money pit. I've been burnt before. And, when you look into it, they haven't been burnt before. They spent like $217 on ads and not given it a proper go, So I understand it's a scary process. I understand that you don't want money to go out before spending it. Business is an investment. It's about trusting yourself and your product, and having that predictable lead gen system when you crack it is something that is completely a game changer for you, your business, your employees, your family, whoever benefits from that. So, and your clients, your audience, you having your ads out there like in a paid capacity is like plugging in that amplifier, taking your acoustic guitar, plugging it in so you can play like freaking Jimi Hendrix to a huge stadium full of people. They deserve to hear your message. They deserve to have a chance to talk to you that you probably couldn't get just doing organic marketing. So if you want to go down this route, however you say it, then it's super important to believe that people need what you've got, that you can help them, and that over time, you want to make a huge impact with this thing. And so investing the money is just part of it. So yeah, paid advertising is, for me, while it's my job, it's a hugely, hugely effective part of my life and my clients' lives. And I believe in it 100%. So if you're feeling like you're ready for it and you give it a go and your first image of it isn't what you expected, that is completely normal. People go there all the time. And it can be a struggle, but when it cracks, it's so, so worth it. So let's recap. Excuse me. Let's recap the 4 things you can do if your ads are not performing the way you want them to. 1, know your numbers and the profitable campaign formula. That is how much you get in the bank from every client, how much it costs you to get a client, how much you want your leads to be, and how much your conversion rate is from leads to sale. You know those numbers first. That gives you confidence. 2, know the numbers of the actual ad themselves. cost per result, cost per click, cost per 1,000 people, and the frequency of how many times people are seeing it. Number 3 is to actually test your offer. Go back and rethink your offer and make sure your offer is tangible, beneficial, and desirable to your audience. And 4 is to be patient, young Padawan, and know that this is going to happen for you if you stick with it long enough. So, guys, that's been Coaches to the Moon number 69. Just me by myself today. Got some really, really great guests coming up in the next few weeks. We're going to America now. We're kind of podcasting with a lot of Americans, and the time zones are more difficult. So, we've had a bit of a lapse on the regularity of guests, but it's all for good reason. We've got some amazing, amazing guests coming up, people I'm really excited to talk to. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this next episode and this one. Last week was with Kelly Bowen. I really recommend you go and listen to her, especially if you're a coach in Australia. She can help you out with her service amazingly, and everything she does is free. So check out Kelly Bowen. We have a brand new Facebook group called Stacked Calendars and Simple Ads for Coaches. This is a group where I'm actually giving away a lot of my templates and resources and like standard operating procedures for running ads inside the group. We'll put the link in the comments of this video on all these different channels. And basically, guys, I cannot wait to see you in there. It's a really, really fun journey. I want to thank you for listening. We've had a great month in business. It's been a really fun half of a year, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So thank you so much. That's been episode 69 of Coaches to the Moon, and I'll see you back here in 1 week with another amazing guest. So everyone who's watching live or on the recording, thank you so much.